This is Bophelong, a place of hope on SABC News. A very good afternoon to you. I am your host, Puleng Molebati. Today, we bring you the story of two sisters who share more than sibling rivalry, but rather a much deeper connection. Nombuso Dladla and her younger sister, Nelisiwe Dladla, were both called to be sangomas, and the two sisters thought ignoring the signs of their calling would help, but it only brought misery and confusion in their lives. Nombuso, now a qualified program assistant, and Nelisiwe, finishing up her high school and aspiring to be a lawyer, were left with no choice but to initiate and be confirmed as authentic traditional healers in their village. Let's have a look at their story.
The holders of the healing power in the southern Bantu societies are traditional healers. When illness strikes, traditional healers are the first to be called. Their communities have faith in their ability to cure and alleviate various conditions. In Watersmith village in KwaZulu-Natal resides the Dladla family. The Dladla sisters have the gift of traditional healing. Nombuso and Nelisiwe Dladla say they inherited the calling from their grandparents at a very young age. Nelisiwe was in fact aged 7.
Mina kushuthi indaba yami yowazi ukuthi nginobizo lokuba isangoma into eyaqala ngifunda ugrade ngangifunda ugrade 2 kwasho ukuthi ngangisemncane impawu vele zaqala lapho ngoba ngangineminyaka u7 ngesimo ke sokuthi kwakunzima nala ekhaya ukuthi bamukele ukuthi ke nginale nobungoma manje kwadalela ukuthi kubaba lokezama ke uzama ukuvala lento khishwa imali ehlehlise ethi hayi ngicela ukuthi bangilinde ngifunda isikole mina esikoleni bengingafundi kahle njengazo zonke ingane ngoba okokuqala vele ngathi ngiqala ungena nje ka grade 1 amehla engaboni kahle nje ayehlezi nje ekhali ngembezi.
Nelisiwe speaks of how she would often have dreams in which an elderly woman and man would tell her to communicate to her parents about her gift to practice as a traditional healer. She could not articulate her dreams to her parents at the time. For 2 years, she kept her dreams to herself. One morning in her grade 4 class, she was required to write a class test.
2010 lapho engathola khona ukuthi angiboni kahle emehlweni angizwa kahle endlebeni mangabe ngisesikoleni ngithi ngiyabheka ebhodini ngibheka uthisha ngivele ngibone ngingasesikona uthisha ngivele ngibone sengibona ugogo wami lo ade ufuna ukuthi ngimthathele umsebenzi ngizame ngibabikele othisha abanye babe understand lento yami ukuthi kukanjani cha abanye babengafuna ukuyamukela babethi ayikho lento ubungoma idemon besike bazongithandazela silikhipha idemon lobungoma. Shuthi ke ngawo 2010 ubaba kukhishwa imali eningi kakhulu la ekhaya ubaba ezama siphuma ngisho ebusuku impela ngoba mina ebusuku ngangalali siphuma ngisho ebusuku sihamba indawo sihamba amazwe nje ngenxa ukuthi ubaba efuna usizo ukuthi ke azi ukuthi kufanele yenze njani ngoba mangabe efika lapho vele bekufike kuphuma ukuthi ke nginomngoma.
At that very time, her elder sister Nombuso was also struggling to deal with her premonitions. While she would take her sister to consult with a local traditional healer who was assigned to help her with her dreams, Nombuso would foresee events that would later turn out to be real.
Ngiqale ngokubona izinto ezifihliweke kodwa yabona lezi eziyimfihlo nje othi ayinemfihlo yami engafuni yazobani bengivele ngiyibone mhlambe ukhulelwe noma uzithwele awakabatshela abantu abadala sisu mhlambe sesincane mhlambe amavikana ubuthi ungena nje mina eminyango ngivele ngikubona uyenye into ngikubona nje impela ngibona usiqhuba isisu ngisibona usiqhuba asikakabona umuntu sesincane nobani unamaviki ngithola ukuthi mangicwayisa ngiphisa umqondo kwenzakani ngami awu ngithola ukuthi hayi kuhambe umkhulu bangitshengisa ukuthi lento kade sikutshengisa yona ngempela ikhona ngoba ngiyakhumbula nje lo mntwana engangimbonela wafihla nje isikhathi eside uthe suka ke manje wafika ngephupho wangitshela athi yazi mina ngikhulelwe kodwa ekhanga kabatsheli yilokho nokunye okuningi khona nje imfihlo engayithola yomlingani wami ayikade ifihlile itshela ukuthi ngeke iphinde izitholakala ngifuna ukutshela ukuthi ngayibona ngesemsebenzini.
Nombuso says she knew that she had inherited the gift of traditional healing from her grandparents, so the family decided that she would go to an initiation school first so that she could mentor her younger sister in her journey to becoming a traditional healer when she returns.
Idlozi kukade langena kodwa mangabe useyingane izinto noma zikwenzekalela nje mhlawumbe uphupha mhlawumbe uba nembono ethile uye kwesinye isikhathi ungakuthathi serious mhlawumbe ungakuxoxi nakwabantu abadala kodwa bekade kwenzeka kona kodwa la ngiqale khona kahlehle ukunaka ukuthi ngempela lesi siphiwo lesi nginaso ngonyaka ka2012 kunezinto nje ezazenzeka kumina izinto lezi abayibiza ngama premonitions ila ngabona khona kodwa futhi nakhona ngaqala kanganaka phela ngitshela ukuthi mina ngisemusha futhi nje ngitshela ukuthi mina impilo yami ngifuna ukuyiphila ngalendlela le ezofanela mina ngayo lokho ngiyaziba nje kuze kwathi ke ngelinye ilanga impela kwangikhipha ekhaya kumsombuluko ngiyathi ngifike ekhaya hayi ngathola ke lapha nje basho ukuthi hayi beyazi ukuthini mangabe ufuna ukubona ngempela ukuthi manje sisadlali nawe kangakanani uzobona sikunikeza izinsuku eziwu2 manje mangabe nje kele izinsuku zadlula zawu2 ungekho la sikade sitshengisa khona ukuthi kufanele ukuthi ube khona uzobona ukuthi uzokhishwa yini eofisini lakho lapho usebenza khona sebesho ke kakhulisa social solutions la ngikhona khona ngokwetoho ngiyakhumbula nje ngagula ngaphoqa ukuthi ngibafonele ekseni bathi angisakwazi ukuze emsebenzini ngicela ukuthi bangibhekezelele ngoba kunezimo ke nje ezithile manje sefanele ukuthi ngempela ngibhekane nazo ukuze sizokwazi ukudlula ngiqhubekele phambili nami nempilo.
The problems in her marriage seemed difficult to resolve. She started feeling that perhaps she was the root of the problems. Her time at the initiation school was therapeutic. She says she received counseling from her spiritual leader and her ancestors who assured her that they would send her the right man for a husband. Thus, after the graduation ceremony as a sangoma, Nombuso separated from her husband of 3 years.
Ngibe nayo relationship before azange izisebenze leyo relationship ngizokusho nje kugcwala umlomo ngoba phela sisafihli manje sesiyayikhuluma nje izinto icace mina bengade ngishadile bakwethu angisashadile manje sokuhambile ke kwavela basho ukuthi kwako wakho loyo owethu seza sacela uhlala ulinde bakuveza ke lokho isikhathi esiningi.
We continue with the story right after the break. Stay right here.
Technology is all around us and is improving lives across Africa, like how young Nigerians are connecting to the internet. There are doctors finding new ways to save lives in Cameroon, and the South African public transport system that is now getting Wi-Fi. We have gadgets, apps and loads more, some of which play a big role in Africa's growth. A huge part of this African growth is technological innovation. To find out a bit more about social media and technology news from here in Africa and abroad, join me, Phumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
SABC News, we've got Africa covered.
Welcome back to Bophelong, a place of hope with me, Pule Mulebati. Remember to send us your feedback on these stories and others that you have seen on the show. Our email address is bophelong@sabc.co.za and our Twitter handle @Bophelong Show. We continue with the story of the Dadla sisters, who are not only traditional healers but young women. In this case of Nombuso, she is also a traditional healer living and working in the modern world. Let's see how they handle it.
Nombuso embarked on her new journey of spiritual enrichment, but still felt that life had never been more complex. So she ventured on a new journey to find comfort as a young professional who had just entered the job market.
Ngingumuntu wesifazane osemncane, impilo ngifundisa ukuyimela. Ngiyimele yebo abazali ngisenabo bobabili bayaphila. Kodwa ngifunde kumanje mina ukuyimela. Ngenzelani? Ukuthi babe sekhona abazali mangiwa bazongicosha. Uyabona? Ngiyimele ngiyithokozela impilo engiyiphilayo. Ngiyasihlonipha kakhulu ngeke ungithole lapha nalapha yana. Ngiyajabula nje ngimthanda umuntu engiyena.
She put aside her own ambitions to assist her younger sister with her journey to realizing her gift as a traditional healer. At age 16, Nilsiwe was taken to initiation school where her sister had graduated from. She became the youngest member of the Dladla family to practice traditional medicine.
Ngisho ukuthi inkinga ikuphi bese ke bona ke imfa kwaloko babe sebengikhanyisela sebengichazela ukuthi joda labancane sibazana besilisa sibamukeleni ngegogo jonke ikhambi.
The Dladla sisters have become role models to other young women in their communities, using their gifts to guide them spiritually and offer their skills to those who approach them in need of traditional medicine. Their scope of practice is wide-ranging, including providing medicine, counseling, and physical activities such as a birth attendant and circumcision. The founder of the local initiation school in the community speaks of how they still encourage community members to consult medical practitioners even after they have consulted with them.
Siyayiqinisekisa ukuthi sikubheke ukuthi unamadlozi ngempela noma uyagula. Mangabe ugula noma kanjani sikuthumele clinic ikudlulisele esibhedlela. Abantu abaningi basakholelwa ekutheni umuntu mangabe enegciwane ubulewe. Esiye sizame ngawo wonke amandla ukuthi sibatshengise ukuthi kukhona izifo HIV, iTB, inhlobo eziningi zezifo esiye siqwashisane ngazo ngoba ngisho ukuthi siba nako ukuthi abantu bangakhona ukuthi bavuma ukuthi abantu bayagula sikholele ekutheni bayabulawa kanti akunjalo.
As a young ambitious woman, Nombuso tackles both worlds with sheer strength and passion. On weekdays, she works as a researcher at a social solutions center, Khulisa in Ladysmith, and on weekends, she attends to a practice as a traditional healer.
Now, isn't that the perfect example of what it means to be an Afropolitan? After the break, we talk about tradition and what it means in our modern day lives with Bade Khaubepi, a life coach and a holistic healer at the Healing Hut. Stay right here.
I had a wonderful opportunity to use the parliamentary stage to bring the world's attention to what is going on. I am ready to go into prison again for the things I'm protesting against now. We salute women.
Technology is all around us and is improving lives across Africa, like how young Nigerians are connecting to the internet. There are doctors finding new ways to save lives in Cameroon. and the South African public transport system that is now getting Wi-Fi. We have gadgets, apps and loads more, some of which play a big role in Africa's growth. A huge part of this African growth is technological innovation. To find out a bit more about social media and technology news from here in Africa and abroad, join me, Phumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back to Bophelong, a place of hope with me, Bophelong Molebati. Earlier on, we saw how the Dadler sisters decided to follow their path regardless of everything else. They are very young and they've decided they're going to leave all that behind and become traditional healers. And now with me in studio is Badi Khaubepi, and we're talking about being a traditional healer in the modern day and rather tradition in our modern day lives. Badi, welcome to Bophelong.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Earlier on, we saw the story of the Dadler sisters who've decided from a very, very young age that they're going to be traditional healers, sangomas. How does a calling become about to most people?
With most people, you usually find that what would happen is that you would start with certain dreams that are concerning you.
Yeah.
I can speak for myself. For me, it was dreams, dreaming a lot of water, getting a lot of premonitions, seeing things about people, sometimes dreaming people that you don't know and running into them and knowing what their issues are, and you not telling them about those issues and consulting them, you actually start to get sick. But also with some people, they usually dream of the drums and the dancing, and as well as a lot of water, being underwater, and old people talking to ancestors that have passed on in your family.
But you are a holistic healer. What is that?
Holistic healer. I'm a traditional healer, qualified traditional healer. But what I've done is that I've evolved into other form of healings. For instance, I do Reiki. I also do tarot card readings, and I also would recommend crystals for people that need to heal a certain area. I also deal with deficiencies in terms of nutritional deficiencies within the body. So it's healing as an umbrella, but my core is traditional healing. Yes.
Now that we're still talking about traditional healing, is traditional healing sangoma for only black people?
No, you'd be surprised. Actually, where I trained, there are about 6 white traditional healers. I've actually encountered white traditional healers that have come into my practice, and they've actually got African ancestors. And it's usually someone who probably was their nanny as they were growing up, and they were really close. And that person passes on, and that person had a healing gift, and then chooses this person to train for them on their behalf.
So it's not only with relatives, it could be from someone that you know, a friend that you could inherit this from.
Okay, I don't want to just say a friend, but basically a close-knit family, like your stepfather. And you also find that also with sometimes your parents used to work for certain people, like an Indian person or a white person, and sometimes that white person can come through as your spirit guide as well. So it could be anyone. I don't want to say friends in particular, but people that your parents or people that are in your lineage.
Okay, traditional healing and medicinal healing, how different are those two?
Traditional healing and medicinal healing. Traditional healing is it's when you put tradition as a way of healing, in terms of sometimes there are cultural based things. Like you'd find that you're healing someone with African issue and that they need to do certain traditions, and you put those herbs, but it's culturally based and it's going back to the African tradition. And medicinal healing is just giving someone something that they would generally need to use without any cultural connotations to it.
Okay, so we've got psychics, the people that could foresee, and we've got the prophets.
Yeah.
You have people that could read tarot cards. You've got the sangomas that use the puppets and the one that use the bones.
Yes.
Can you please talk us through all of this? Because everybody wants to know how different are these people.
Yeah, they're not very different. It's basically like having healers, like doctors, and then others focus on a certain area. Like within doctors, they're optometrists, gynecologists, and they are oncologists, and so it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
But with your psychics, what they do is you'd find that they usually predict the future.
Yeah.
Sometimes I agree with that, sometimes I don't, because the future is not fixed per se, depending on the choices that you make. But a psychic could say, for instance, if you decide to make this decision, you might find your life taking into this path and this path. Mediums, then you get to mediums. Mediums are people that I'm sure a lot of people have been exposed to TV, where they see a person connecting them to their love guides and stuff. And the sangomas are not so different from mediums, because what they do is they mediate between your ancestors or your spirit guide to actually portray the message. And what else do you ask?
And with the sangomas, you have the ones that use the bones, and the ones that use the puppets, the ones that use the water.
Yes. The water you find with the prophets are more strong on the water element. I use water. I use candles, I use bones, I use tarot cards. I also do photo readings where people send me their photo or a photo of someone that I don't know, and I can compile a full reading. And with your prophets, you find that through prayer and through the Holy Spirits, they're able to see things and predict things and feel things. Some people are feelers, some people are clairsentients, that's to feel. Some people are clairaudience, they hear. And so it depends on where your gift is actually strong, because within most healers, we all have different gifts. Yes.
Do you find that people still do not give the traditional healers and traditional practitioners the respect that they deserve?
Oh yes, yes.
Why is that?
I believe that it's getting into the political part of things, but I believe that a lot of people do not understand traditional healing, what it's about. They associate traditional healing and witchcraft as the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Please differentiate for us.
Yeah. Witches are people that would use your black magic, would use body parts, people's body parts, or certain organs of animals and stuff. Sometimes even with traditional healing, I need to just clarify this, you need certain parts for cleansing for yourself. But that's with traditional healing. But witchcraft, the intention is to harm, the intention is to manipulate and control a certain individual through using witchcraft. And it's also to sell the idea of you'll have more power if you kill this person or if you harm this person. So that's witchcraft. And it's usually a very, very lower conscious form of practicing, and it involves very dark and dense energies.
Okay, so if I come to you and say, and I request that you please assist me in getting revenge on someone, that's me requesting for you to use black magic? Is that what you say?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So for me, I'm very clear with things like that it's either you choose whether you're a witch or you're a healer. If you're healing, you need to heal. If you're a witch, then that's what you do. But I'm very conscious, because what ends up happening is that, unfortunately, with the nature of our work, some people are struggling. They haven't had a job in their lives. They're struggling financially. And you find that the little bit of power that they haven't evolved into that role of helping people spiritually. So then they start having their own intentions, such as, I can charge you 5,000 rands for revenge for this and that. Then they start not being ethical. But if utwasile kahle and you've been through the right processes, there are guidelines. And also, if you're dealing with the right spirit guides, dealing with ancestors and not other negative spirits, there are guidelines. And umoya wako, your sense of spirit, will not allow you to cross certain barriers. Yeah.
So what are the roles of the sangomas in our communities?
The roles of the sangomas are to educate people about tradition, where it comes from, about ancestors, and it's also to heal people and to empower people. And most of the time you find that when people are having problems and they haven't had help via church, they haven't had help via a certain hospital from a certain doctor, then they need the traditional healer, the sangoma. That's where we come in. Again, I need to specify that traditional healer and sangoma is not the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's just clarify that point. Traditional healer is the umbrella of traditional healing, but within that there are sangomas, which are the diviners. There is nyanga, the people that only use herbs. There are midwives within that as well, and there are prophets. So there's different. So sometimes people would technically, I'm a traditional healer, but I'm not your typical sangoma. But ngitwasile.
Okay, you're saying typical sangoma. I believe we're running quickly out of time. But what are the challenges that you face as a modern day traditional healer?
People expect you, people assume that immediately because you're a sangoma, you're supposed to look a certain way. And also that being a sangoma, you dirty or you have a lack of knowledge. Yes.
So meaning you don't look untidy.
You're supposed to look a certain way.
Okay.
You're supposed to have biles hanging and chicken feathers. I mean, it's understandable when you actually usatwasa. But the fact that sometimes people cannot trust you because they see you look a certain way and they think that you don't know your job.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And quickly, you've brought the cards, right?
Yes.
Where can people find you if they need you to read their fortune?
Okay.
Let's quickly, can I quickly pick up the cards there?
I've got the crystals and I've got the cards. You can shuffle these.
Am I allowed to touch them?
Yeah, you can touch them. I'm not, because you can just shuffle. Yeah.
Okay.
And then what happens is usually when you're doing a reading, tarot cards, this is just a simple demonstration, but usually how tarot cards work is you need to put your energy into them and you shuffle them, and the card that's meant for you usually comes out. It's usually 3 cards. That come. I usually ask people to take out 3 cards specifically, and what happens is that's usually the most. You can just put them together and reshuffle, and just like as you shuffle your deck of cards.
And you know what I will do, because we have run out of time, I'm going to shuffle them as I do the closing. But where can people find you if they need you to read these for them?
Basically, at the Healing Hut. I've got a practice called the Healing Hut. It's at the Brightwater Commons and in Randburg. And that's my office, but I only deal with appointments. But also when people can email me if they're interested in photo readings. And how they work is that they send their photo via WhatsApp, and within 2 to 3 days, within proof of payment, after proof of payment, I compile a whole reading. It's usually an hour with questions and answers. The reason why it's a 3-day waiting period is because even as I am right now, there's a waiting list.
We have run out of time. I would have loved a reading on air, but I'm going to request one once we are done. That's how we conclude today's episode of Bophelong. Thank you so much for tuning in. Catch us again next week, Saturday, same time, same place. It's a goodbye from us here on Bophelong.
The shortage of nurses